Jess here from Nigezza.co.uk. Thank you for joining me for another junk journal session. Now, this junk journal, you might remember, it's got 3 signatures, and I've actually finished the whole of this first signature, and obviously we're working on this third one together, and the middle one will just get done. And so I'm trying out lots of techniques. I am learning as I go, and what we're going to look at today is some paper napkin, or serviettes as we tend to call them here, techniques. So I watched quite a lot. I didn't actually intend for that belly band to be on the opposite side of this same page. It was just the way it ended up. So I'm going to show you different ways that I have used them. There are lots of different ways you can use them, and I just tried out a few. Got some down there that I put directly on a page. Got that one's on a tag that was stained with inks. I think that was the last video I did. One of my favourites here, I put it on this piece of green graph paper. I just thought the paper just needed something, and so I put a whole sort of napkin on there, and I really love the way that's turned out. And then again I did some on some tags here, and then this one, I love this. This has got 2 different paper napkins on here, and just created a whole page, and yeah, I really like that. So I'm going to show you what I have been doing and how I have found learning about napkin usage. So I decided I needed a tin to put it in. So I bought 2 packets of napkins. You can buy them separately from lots of different sellers, but for the price of like 4, I got these 2 whole packs. So I thought there was lots and lots of usage out of this sheet. So I went for this. So basically it's that repeated again on the other side. I am going to do a flower fairy album, so I thought these were quite cute and I could use those fairies, but for this one I'm just using all the flowers and the butterflies, and there's like loads that I can take from this one sheet, and this one's just music, and I really like music paper, and I've used vintage music paper in my junk journal, so I liked the idea of having a paper napkin just full of music. Yeah, I liked that. I might send one of these to my son and see if he can play this, find out what it is. So the first thing that you need to do when you're doing this is separate them. Now these are got 3 layers, and sort of one layer comes off really easily, and I have kept each layer, and I've used these plain layers as well in other ways. And then there is another layer here as well, and this one can be quite difficult to get, especially if you haven't got any nails, but I watched some videos, and you know, you can find nearly everything you need to know on the tube of YouTube. One of the ways was to get a bit of sellotape and use that to peel it off. You see, comes off beauty then. And what I liked about this was that you still had a bit of the print on this, so I did actually use this. Oh, stuck it there. Let's take this off now. Yes, I have used this lighter print of music as well, so you get a much subtler print by using this. It's just, you can see it faintly, so quite like that. So I think I paid £2.30 for these packs, and you get, I think it's 20 in a pack. So, and the fact that you've got all these layers in it, 20 serviettes, 3-part. They do tell you what the ply is, so you'll know from the packet how many you've got to get off. So I'll show you that full page that I did. So I've got some book paper in here, so I've got my dictionary, and what I know from using my vintage dictionary is that it is, probably off camera now, that it is virtually the same height. It's narrower, but it's virtually the same height as my album. It kind of fits on a page quite nicely, so that's what I did here. So I'm going to show you how I did that sheet there. So because I want it to sit on top of the album, I just used one sheet. I didn't stick two together because I didn't want it to be too heavy, and I'm just ripping the edges a bit because I don't want it to be neat. Not using my ruler to rip it, just taking it as it is. I'm not going to ink up the edges yet. I'll be doing that when I'm going to stick it on. So there we are. I do tend to keep some of these bigger pieces and a bit with a word on, and I'll probably chuck the rest. And then I am using watered down PVA. I watch lots. Some people use glue stick, but I'm not a lover of glue stick. I just feel it might come apart. But I did order a particular make of glue stick, can't remember which one it was now, that somebody recommended, and they were doing sticking their serviettes on with that. But I don't know where it's coming from. Other side of the world, it would seem, because everything else I ordered in my Amazon order at that time has arrived, but that one hasn't. And I have been checking that I'm not ordering anything from the other side of the world. I just wanted to buy British just because I wanted to get it quicker, really. I was thinking of the environment, but this one had an English address, but clearly not coming from around the corner. So I covered that, and then I'm just, oh, I didn't do that very well, did I? Let's put it straight. And then I just laid that on top. Don't bother me that it wrinkles. I quite like that. It adds to the appeal. And then I can just rip away bits of it. So where it's wet with the glue, it's just coming away. And then we can use that for another thing. So we've got some gaps here where it's come off, but I quite like that effect as well. And so I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll show you how I added the other, because I don't want to add any more glue to that so it might ruin. So I'm going to put that in the windowsill in the other room because the sun's shining through, and that will dry quite nicely whilst I carry on with something else. Okay, so now I'm going to show you I did those belly bands. So we just needed half a sheet for each belly band. So I'm just going down the centre of this, and I'm gonna, that side's pretty rough, I'm gonna just take a tad off this side so that looks a bit rougher as well. I still haven't done the tidying in my room to find my special ripping ruler. Okay, so this is the first, well, the layer that's right next to the music picture that's got that little subtle look about it. So I'm going to put a bit of this on. I'm going to rip this first. Yeah, so I'm going to put a bit of that on there, bit of that on there, and then I'm going to choose which bit of that I want, but I'm just going to put these on. So just going to put a bit of my PVA in the middle there. So it's watered down PVA. It's that way up. Not that it really matters, but as I spotted the treble clef, I may as well put it where it's supposed to be. Yeah, I kind of did 2 parts PVA, 1 part water-ish. So you've got a really subtle bit of music showing through there. Stick that on. I just love it, and I find I stick it on the windowsill when the sun's coming through, and it dries really, really quickly. So I was able to put these together really quickly, and that's ripped a bit, but I'm not bothered. There we are. So you can see, hopefully, really, really subtle bit of music coming out there. And then I'm going to take, I love that butterfly, so I'm just going to rip around where that butterfly is. I don't want the fairies in this one, so I'm not including them. And I don't particularly want that gold edging either, so I'm just going to rip that off. And I just think this, the way this butterfly is on the edge of the paper, makes a really nice edging to this belly band. Now there is a bit of wet still on there, so I'm just going to stick it down on that, and then just paint some over the top. And then when it's dry, I'll probably rough the top and the bottom up a bit and then use some distress inks. But that has got like a double layer on, and you can faintly see the music behind. And on this one, I'm going to take that flower bit there, or I could take that butterfly, but I'm going to take that actually. That butterfly, this one fits a nice little tag. So I looked on Etsy stores that sell singular napkins, and I said I could get 4 for about the price. I got 20 here, so I just thought, well, I'll buy these 2 packs for now, and then I might buy some more, and then I might do my own little multiple packs when I've got enough, and sell them myself. Because they're cheap enough to post, because they're not very heavy. There we go. So I'm just going to stick that up like that in exactly the same way, and that's the that's the 2 belly bands done. I'm going to stick that on the windowsill as well. I'm going to clean this a bit, and then I'm going to show you how I did my directly onto the page in my junk journal. Oh, in that time it took to do those belly bands, this actually is now bone dry. It does curl up a little bit because obviously it's got water in there, and so I'm just going to stick this on here. And this will be adhered directly to the page, so it doesn't matter about the edges curling up because they'll be glued down. There we go. So I've gone for a different butterfly on this because I'm more or less going to repeat what I did in the first signature in the third signature, just obviously changing paper, and in this case serviette, so that it's quicker, because obviously it takes a lot of thought to think about how I'm going to do things, and this is one way of, I thought, of cutting it down, because now I'm making my junk journal and I'm watching more videos about different things, I'm getting more ideas, and I just want to do one with different themes. So that's how that's turned out, and I really like the way that the music's showing through. So this one is the full strength music serviette, and the belly bands had the subtler one, so when they're dry we can have a look at the difference. Now I am going to clean up and do the direct to the page one. So this was the page here where I put it directly on to the page. Slightly scary at first because that is adding quite a bit of water, but it turned out really well. And then I got brave and I added it here just a little bit in the corner, because I really like that page with the way that the doily was placed on that page when I coffee stained it, and I like the way it mirrors the doily there. So I really like that. I love the mushrooms, toadstools in it. So I've picked out my page up here. I'd already used one of the green graphs here, so this is the other one, and I kind of overcooked this sheet here, and because this is the one where I did the page where I turned the whole page down and created a pocket, and I have stuck some more pattern paper on there, so this is quite strong, so it will take a bit of water and it will be all right. So I have cut out quite a large piece to sort of go over there, and then I've got a little strip which I thought would be quite nice put on the other side to mirror it. I mean, I may well put pocket or belly band in there, but I'm not quite sure. So here we go. So I'm just going to put some glue then along there, and then up there on my page. So this piece of paper was actually green. It was one of the solid colours from this paper pack, but I say I did manage to overcook it, but decided to still include it in the album. I didn't really mind too much. Take that edging off. So let's put some glue there where I've missed bits. And then I'll just go over the top. Obviously I dry this with the book open. Don't want anything gluing to the wrong side. And I say I didn't find that the page warped at all because I've chosen a page that's already got a piece of paper glued on the other side, so it sort of manages. And this paper is actually a lot thicker than normal copier paper, which I've used for the other coffee stain paper. So I'm just going to be careful when I put this bit on because I've got that envelope in the middle and I don't want that to get stuck. So just a bit down the edge there. I can see why glue stick is a popular choice for sticking these, because it is slightly less messy and it more or less instantly you can use it, but it's quite warm, so it's not actually taking a long time to dry. So that's what that looks like. And I think it just creates some texture and adds a bit of colour quite nicely. So I'm going to go and get the other sheets that should be dried by now, and we'll do some distressing on them. So there's my sheet there. So we'll do a bit of inking up on this. This is, it says Sierra Sand. I needed to re-ink my crumb cake after using it to stain the paper, and I got my re-inker out, got my crumb cake, put loads on it, give it a good soak. The next day I went to do some inking around the edges and sort of the stamping some script, and I wanted a subtle colour, so I got my Sahara Sand out, and lo and behold I had inked crumb cake in my Sahara Sand ink pad. Duh! So yeah, so I need a new Sahara Sand. But on the plus side, I've got two crumb cakes. Not that I really need two crumb cakes, but you know, every cloud. So I just realised I want to put a bit of ink on here, a bit whiter than I want it. And I could, if I wanted to, stamp some script on there. Just to add to it. Just very subtly over the top of that. Like so. Yep, I like that. So that's ready to stick it onto the page, but I'm not sticking it on the page just yet because it's still drying in the sunshine. So we can do a little tag. Let me get some of my stained cardstock from the other day. Thought I had some. There, very tiny bit there. But that will have to do. Yeah, that appears to be all I've got left. So I can make a nice tag with that. So I can, let's choose a bit of foliage. Let's have that yellow butterfly there. So it's just to add a bit of interest in the background, and I can add other things to it as well, but this is a good base on it. So let's cover that in PVA. Now, because this was stained with ink and PVA is water-based, can you see there's a little bit of muddying there, and you can see on my brush there I've got some of the ink off. So that is a slight drawback with using ink stained paper as opposed to coffee dyed, but I'm not bothered. Just got to remember that you might have a little bit of colour on your brush, so if you were going to then do this somewhere where you didn't want the colour transferring, that you'd need to be aware of that. So then that's just giving a nice little effect there, which I can turn into a tag. There is warping because it's, as I say, it's a water-based glue, and I've added more glue to it, and that's why that's doing that. So I'll go and check on how dry the rest of it is. I'm having trouble turning it off. So these are nice and dry, and I've got some Whisper White here that I coffee stained and cooked, and so this is the width of A4, which is 8 1/4, which is the height of my pages, and I've just cut them to 2 3/4 there, because that will take these quite nicely to make some nice quick decorative belly bands. I'm going to rip the top off, make that a bit neater. I might roughen that edge a little bit so we haven't got this margin there. I'll just do the one to show you, the other one's done in exactly the same way. And then that is ready to fit on there, and I'm really not doing anything more than that, but I will ink the edges. I'm going to use, oh, that's all fallen on the floor, never mind. I'm going to use soft suede around these edges because it is a little bit darker. And one of the other end of this piece of A4 did actually burn, so it's got a well charred edge, and I quite like the look, so having a bit of a darker ink around the edges I thought would be a nice look. And then I want to ink up these edges. So it's already got coffee stains on, so I'm quite happy with that. I might do a little bit of inking on it because I think that might look nice. So where's that little bit of script I used before? We're going to see a bit at the top and then a bit down the edges. just add a little bit of interest there before this gets stuck on. And so I want a nice good strong glue to stick it down. I like Tombow. I also like Collaging, but the Tombow's to hand, so I'm using that. I did actually manage to get hold of some art glitter glue just to try that out. I bought the metal tip. I do like the metal tip, and it has got a nice easy squeeze, which I also like. So, and that just gets stuck on there. I just realised the word there was pocket. We're not creating a pocket, but we're creating, well, it could create a pocket. This could be a pocket as opposed to a belly band. I might change it up and do that with it. And so that's it, ready to get stuck in a page. And I just think that's a really nice look for a junk journal. So that's it. That's it dried, and you've got little bits of white bits showing through, but I quite like that. Kind of reminds me of when you put gesso on. And that one's turned out really nice. And that's me tag, not too much warping going on there. And if we go back to the original one there, you can still see, you can see where there was some white bits on that, but I quite like it, and I like that it's got a bit of a crinkle effect. And so this sheet was adhered to the inside of the signature cover. So I'm going to do that on this one because it's slightly thicker paper than the copier paper that the rest is being used. So I'm just going to stick that down. And I think I'm going to do some stamping first. Can't remember if I did it on this one or not. No, I didn't, but I think I am going to do a bit of stamping around this before I stick it down, because it's got a book page in the middle. The other one had a doily, but this one's got a book page, so I think we might sort of do that, because we've got some writing. So I'm just going to go down the page like so. Most of the stuff in the middle is actually going to get covered up, so that will do nicely. I don't need to do any inking because I'd already done it, so I think that looks better with that stamping around the edge. So I'm gonna stick this down, and that finishes the page really nicely. Now I did put a small belly band on the other and had a little faux envelope tucked into it, which I quite like that touch. And the thing I made the belly band out was just some inking. I was doing a lesson on a class on Zoom, showing them different techniques for stamping, and I stamped a little bit, and then I was playing then with distressing, and I quite liked how it looked and thought, oh, I'll put that in my junk journal, because otherwise it would just get chucked. And so it literally was a bit of junk going in, and then I can just add little bits to where it's not stuck down. And I just really like the look of that. I just think it's really, really lovely. And you can see on the other one there, I just put this little bit. I think I put a bit of the music napkin. And then I've just got, this was just a bit of 6x6 paper I had that was only printed on one side, and I've just stamped over it, and then I've just distressed that side, a few stamps, so I can write on that, do some journaling on that, stick it in. I say this one had a doily. I've just done a little cluster on that side, so I'll probably do something similar here. I'll probably do something with this book page and just have a little cluster there. Yeah, I think I might clip one of those faux letters envelopes over the top of that. I've got different ones that I've made, so I can grab one. This is actually a real envelope, not a faux one, so I can just hook it over and maybe decorate that side and put something in it. That will be quite cool. And then the belly bands, they were just stuck on either side of this graph paper, which is a bit thicker. I wouldn't actually choose to do them either side of the same sheet. Might put one there. That's got something on the back. I might put them on these two music sheets actually. One actually on a music sheet and that one on the back of a music sheet. Might do one actually as a pocket, so I might stick that on the edge and have that as an actual pocket. So I just need to glue on 3 sides for that. And then just a few tags in there. Do something on the bit of book page in the centre, a bit of cluster, and we'll call that page done. Because I am intending on putting photos in this. I quite like the fact that it's ended up being a botanical theme. I am sort of recording 2020, and a lot of 2020 is on lockdown, and we've been blessed with some nice weather, and so I've taken lots of pictures of foliage and flowers, and so that would look, you know, a nice picture there of some of the nature that we've been seeing would be quite nice, I think. And I think I might put that one actually as a belly band. So I kind of went 1/2 inch worth of glue so that it was stuck down really well, because if it's going to be a belly band with things tucked in it, you don't want it to come unstuck. It's just stuck to the edge. Oh, moved it, sticking it to the edge because it is the same width, because it's taken from the end of a piece of A4. And then I could use that as a tag somewhere in there, and then that sort of matches a bit as well, which is quite nice. So that is my first adventure into napkin art, or naptic technique, whatever it's called. So yeah, I hope you like that. I hope you find it useful. If anybody is more experienced and can point out some errors that I might be making, then you know, please let me know. But at the moment I'm just enjoying what I'm doing, having a bit of fun. This journal is about learning techniques and maybe making some mistakes that I learned from. So that's it, layered over tags. So I'll be doing some of that as well, to go in with some of those belly bands that I've made. Yeah, so I will be back with another video showing you some of the different things, like making some of these envelopes that I've done whilst I was finishing off my first signature. Okay, I'll show you how I did this one. It's quite cool. All right then, see you again soon. All the details will be on my blog, nigezza.co.uk. Not a lot of details, but I will say a few things possibly. But basically, I've told you all about it verbally. But I'll put some pictures in. People like that, don't they? And link to some of the people that I've been watching as well. Shabby Dabby Doo Dah, Carol Tinson, Artie Mays, and the Paper Outpost are my favourites. And if you can recommend anybody else, that would be lovely as well. Okay, bye for now.